Finally, we found a practical use for AI, right? You can now see how in my head I come on stage. So look, I'm not a fashion person, I'm not a textile person. As you heard, I write books about the future. And as we heard right at the start of today, Annie urged us to think about imagination as the biggest solution, the biggest driving force behind our opportunity of solving the climate crisis. And that was really music to my ears, because at the heart of both of these books that I've written is this idea that the only future we will make, the only future you will make, is the future that we are able to imagine. But of course, we know that our collective imagination is in crisis. And I get it, okay? Popular culture, like if we're going to sit down, strap in and be on the sofa or in the cinema seat, we want to be thrilled. Dystopia sells. But this is problematic for us when it comes to creating that better future. Right? Because it's not just in popular culture. This was a few weeks ago, Ipsos released their global survey saying that global optimism is declining. Right? And we know the reasons why. I mean, we've spoken about them. I don't need to labor them for anyone here. And of course, there's another huge fear that so many people have right now, right, where it comes to their jobs. Pew, this was a couple of weeks ago, they released a huge study of how Americans view AI. 50% of Americans are scared of AI. And I thought this was a really interesting nugget within this report. 53% of people fear AI will worsen our ability to think creatively. And this is where we started today. We need to be able to imagine a better future. And this is strange to me, right? Because if you actually think about AI and creativity, on some level, we've never had more creative tools at our disposal. Again, we can all go on ChatGPT, Midjourney, whatever, and create whatever it is we can imagine. And of course, this is going into video now. This took me 5 minutes.
Fashion innovators are meeting to imagine a sustainable future for the industry. The GCA Summit 2025 is underway at Circle Hub in the heart of Stockholm.
It's wild. And this is, it's kind of cool, right? We can create movies and images. But I think there's a far more deeper and far more profound and far more exciting implication of AI-powered creativity that goes way beyond just movie clips and images. And I want to introduce this with a story. Because I write about the future and I write about innovation. And so a couple of years ago, I was reading about the Shell Renewable Energy Hackathon. Right, and if you're British like me, you can be a bit cynical about why they run this, right? Probably a lot of greenwashing going on here. But Shell, they run this hackathon, and they invite people to submit solutions for these challenges that they set. And I was reading about this, and they said something really interesting happened in the last couple of years. So we used to get a few hundred submissions for this. And in 2023, they saw that they had 4,500 teams submit 9,500 potential solutions to this challenge that they'd set around how you could use agricultural waste as an energy resource in Indonesia. Pretty esoteric challenge. And you kind of know where I'm going with this, right? It's because their hypothesis, they said the reason why we feel that there's this explosion in submissions is because it's so much easier now for a team of students or a team of people as a side hustle to look at this challenge and to use AI to explore it, to research it, to pull it together, to get this half-formed idea that they've got in their head submission ready, right? The hype boys on Twitter would have you believe that AI means you just press a button and you've got a kind of app that generates you $10,000 a month and you don't have to do anything and the world is great. Right? The reality is going to be far messier. But I think this story speaks to a really interesting idea that it's not going to be about everything that gets automated and the end product is in our hands, but it's about making our ideas submission ready. Because we know that actually all this creativity without purpose is just going to lead to chaos. Right? There's so much AI slop, it's taking over your social media feeds, right? We're already feeling it. But that's where I think the work that you guys are doing, and everything that we're talking about here today is so exciting, because it's about democratizing the ability for people to share their ideas and to go out there and try and raise money or even bring it into reality in a nascent form, whatever it is. And that, I think, is the biggest question we should be asking about AI and creativity, is how will we use this at times magical, at times terrifying tool to help us develop our ideas faster and quicker. And so now, in the rest of my session, I'm going to do something that they always say you should never do. I'm going to do a live tech demo. And not only am I going to do a live tech demo, I'm either brave or stupid enough to do a live tech demo where you are going to create all of the content and I have no idea what's coming next, okay? So I'm going to ask in advance for your patience, your participation, because, and I'm going to talk for a second so you can start thinking, what I'm going to ask you to do, you've all been given a bit of paper and you've got a pen, pencil in your bags. You've sat through a day of inspiration, right? A day of big questions. And I'm sure that many of you, either you've brought ideas into the room with you before you even started, but many of you will have had new ideas for potential innovations, right? Your brain's sparking. And now what I want you to do is to draw them for us. Now, a quick caveat. Right, you might be able to see where I'm going with this. Spoiler alert, we're going to use AI to do something cool with your drawings, okay? So do not panic if you cannot draw. I am not an artist. Look, I have to write on what I've actually drawn. You can do the same. And don't worry, there is a space for you to add some text in the next phase as well, okay? So what I'm going to ask you to do, my next slide has a 60-second countdown timer. So you're drawing, I'm going to force you to do it very quickly. I'm not asking for it to be a work of art. But can you very briefly sketch an innovation that could help decarbonize the textile industry? And as I said, if your drawing is terrible, I can see the terror in your eyes. We've already laughed at this. You can write on it what it is you've drawn, okay? The AI is pretty good at picking it up. Okay, so is everyone clear on what you're going to do, right? Sketch an idea, an innovation, a startup concept, whatever it is, a product or tool that you think could help decarbonize the textile industry. Okay? Ready? Over to you guys, 60 seconds, and we have a cheesy AI-generated song to keep us company while we're all drawing. Okay, so 60 seconds, over to you guys, let's go.
Stitched in golden rose. No more waste, just dreams to sow. Sparkle in the seams of time. Weaving patterns so divine. There's a tomorrow bright and new. Dancing colors green and blue. We'll spin the world a better hue. Threads of tomorrow, it starts with you.
Okay, so look, you can carry on finishing your drawing if you haven't quite finished. Now this is where the fun bit happens, because now what I want you to do is if you take out your phones and point it at the screen, if you scan this QR code, I'll do it with you. And you might want to be on the Wi-Fi for this, okay, because we're going to upload an image. So if you're not on the Wi-Fi, there's the Wi-Fi password, right? Sergel guessed. If you scan that QR code, it will take you to a little one-page website, okay? You'll see a big box that says Activate Camera. You just tap on the screen and click Allow, and it turns your phone into a camera. Point your phone at your sketch you've just drawn. You might need to give it a bit of time to focus, okay? So let it kind of go in and out. And then you just tap on the screen again to take a picture of your sketch. Okay? So scan the QR code, activate the camera, point your phone at your sketch, tap to take a photo. Now, if you want to add a bit more context to what you've drawn, maybe you couldn't write on it too much, there's a text box underneath for you to add a few words. Okay, don't worry, you don't need to be a prompt engineer. It was just when we were testing it, someone drew a space rocket, and their drawing was so great that the AI thought it was a fish. Okay, so if you just want a few words just to guide the AI, you don't have to write an essay or be a prompt engineer. And then if you keep on scrolling down, you'll see a blue button at the bottom that says Generate. Okay? So scan the QR code, take a picture of your doodle, add a few words if you need to, and then click Generate. How's that going for everyone? Right. Everyone scan the QR code? Okay, so now, can we change to the laptop? Is it coming in? This is where I get nervous. Okay, can we change to the laptop now? Let's see. I think we've overloaded the Wi-Fi because my laptop is running very slowly. Okay, when it loads this page, because what we want, right, and I should say, there's nothing technically complex about what we're doing here initially, right, with the images. Like, you can do this on ChatGPT with some prompts. What is hopefully more interesting is because we've built this, because I've built this, right, I can suck in all of your images into this one screen, right? So we can start to see them coming in. So you can start to see someone's drawn a circular fiber. We've got the UV garment refresh system for, I guess, disinfecting your clothes. We've got the infinity weave t-shirt, right? And this is going to keep, oh, here we go. They just keep on coming in. The eco trace registry. So we can start to get a glimpse of what the room thinks, right? And I can see someone's excited to see theirs coming up on screen. See what we just heard in the session earlier with Solitaire, right? We care about what things do for ourselves, right? Not about the bigger benefits. I love to see all these ideas, right? We've got some amazing ideas. Natura Tech, the performance finish, the color revolution apparel, okay, the story mind architect. So we've got some great ideas coming in. Okay, now these are going to keep loading, okay. So can we go back to the presentation for a second, right? Now, a few things, I'll come back to them maybe in a second when they've all loaded, right? A few things I want to highlight from this, okay? And you can explore your results, okay, because there's a few other goodies. But the first thing I want to say is, look, this really, when I do this with small teams of people in corporates, right, one of the most interesting things I see is when people turn to their neighbors and they say, that wasn't quite what I meant, right? The AI's misinterpreted it. And this, I think, is the magic. Right? It's not about, as I said earlier, it's not about giving us the finished output on shot one, right? Many of your ideas, like, they won't be exactly as you realize them, but it removes the barrier to talking about those ideas with people that you want to share it, right? It helps give you the confidence to share them, and I think that's a really profound implication if you're running a large organization, to unlock the creativity and imagination of your teams, right? The other thing I'm constantly fascinated about, right, is why we insist on dehumanizing the conversation around AI. Right? You've probably heard about AI agents. Like, this is the hot trend in the AI world in 2025. And again, we heard about this earlier. When most people hear about AI agents, they think of someone that's coming to take their job, right? Technology. So you'll notice in your results, you should have a little roast button underneath your results. And what this is an entirely AI-generated image based on your sketch of two AI agents, one of whom thinks it's the best idea in the world, the other one thinks it's a stupid idea, and they're arguing about it, right? And this was just our attempt to try and humanize the conversation around AI and say, what if we used AI to help give us a different perspective, right? Maybe we inject a bit of humor into it, right? And then the final thing, more seriously, that was just a bit of fun. The other thing we've built is, you'll also see we've got a deep innovation report. Now, again, hopefully if this has worked, for every single one of you that's generated a result, you should have a report, right, which talks you through, sell this as an advertising person might sell it. What is the dream vision for this? What are the potential customers? Like, who might be interested in this? How technologically and commercially feasible is this? How might you take this to market, right? How could you, what are 4 and 5 next steps that you could use to develop this idea? Now, look, for the entrepreneurs and the innovators in the room, you may look at these reports and say, look, that's not that impressive, right? The point is the reason why you're an entrepreneur and innovator is because you're comfortable thinking in those terms. Right? For many people, most people I would say in the world, like, they might have an idea, but they just don't know how to take it forward, right? That is an alien concept to them. So again, I'm not saying it's perfect, the AI output, but what I think it's really powerful at doing is solving the blank page problem. And then the final thing, right, which I think is really interesting. Oh, sorry, And what I think this is going to do, exactly as I said, is to bring new voices into the conversation. Right? Think about who puts ideas on the table today. It's the people with the confidence, the people with the capability to believe in those ideas, right? The people who have those skills. But how many amazing ideas sit in the heads of people that don't have that confidence and that capabilities? And that's what I think we should be looking to use AI to do. And the final thing, right, I think this is pretty cool, and hopefully you agree, for yourself individually, on your phone, right? You've now got a whole rich packet of data around the sketch that you drew. But what I think is really magical, right, is that we can now take those 250 ideas that you have, those 250 business plans, and drop them into AI and say, what are the key themes? Right? What is the collective manifesto? So I haven't quite managed to automate this piece yet, by the way. But before I get on the plane this evening and fly home, it takes me about 15 minutes when I come off stage to download this, and it will create a manifesto, a 2-page manifesto based on the collective vision of the GCA Summit audience ideas. And then the other thing I've been playing around with is you can then say, okay, what are you guys not talking about? Produce a blind spot analysis, right? So Annie, I'll share this with you, as I said, this evening. And by tomorrow, you can now have a really rich source of data that says, what are we imagining and what are we not imagining, right? Where's the data? Now that, I think, is really exciting, right? When you do this at a population level or an organizational level, a department level, you can ask people who've never been asked what they think about the future. What do they see? And look, I just use a sketch because it's fun, right, to do here visually. We can see some cool results. But this could be used for anything, right? Think about it. We heard earlier, it was fascinating, one of the people talks about they employ 100,000 textile workers. Like, these are people who are not going to create a business plan in bullet points and PowerPoint to talk about their idea of how they could improve the business. But they might be able to use a WhatsApp voice notes, right? My point is that AI allows us to take really rough, unpolished inputs like your sketches and turn it. If we just go back, because now a lot more of them have loaded. So can we just go back to the laptop? Because I would just love for you guys to see a few more of these. So if we go back to the laptop. And by the way, my final slide is a QR code which will take you to a Dropbox folder which I'll save all this stuff down in. So if you want to access all of these. But look at this, like in less than, whatever it was, 10 minutes, we've now crowdsourced 200 ideas across the textile value chain, right? This is so exciting for me. And I thought they hadn't loaded in time, right? But we've still got 2 minutes left, right? I think I'm going to have a go at doing something else for you. So can we just, if I'm going to ask you guys to turn to your neighbors, right? You've all got example results. If you just discuss your results for 2 minutes, or for a minute, I'm just going to try and do something on my laptop because there's something else I'd love to show you. Okay, can we go back to the laptop for a second? Okay, so look, you guys can discuss this, and hopefully you can have a lot of fun at the coffee break looking at it. But just that we're at time, I don't know if they'll both generate, but what I wanted to show you was now, like, I can just download all of those examples into, this is Google Notebook LM, this is free, and it can go through and it can pull out, like, these are the key themes that across the across this audience you've done. If we go into material sciences, it'll give you bio-based and regenerative fibers, lab-grown and cell-based fibers. Like, in less than 90 seconds, right, I can take 200 of your ideas, we can start to have a mind map, and I don't know if this is going to work because the other thing, which, no, it's not going to work. But anyway, in about another minute, probably, you can create an interactive podcast discussing your ideas that you can actually talk to, which is kind of wild when you see it. But that's the problem with a live tech demo, right? You have to bear with me when I'm relying on Google's servers. So if we just go back to the slides for a second, because I'm going to wrap up. Look, we started this session by saying the only future is the one that we will be able to make, is the one that we can imagine. I hope I've given you a different perspective on how AI can help us, and not just us, the people in this room, but help the wider population, the people who are currently not able to share their ideas, bring their imagination and vision to the table, because that is how we will create a better future, is to invite everyone to contribute to it. So thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure to share this with you, and I can't wait to see some of your ideas as I dive into them later. So thank you very much. Thank you.